There comes a point in every struggle for justice when the truth itself becomes dangerous, when the simple act of speaking up, of naming wrongdoing, threatens the comfort of those who benefit from silence. And when that moment arrives, institutions often reveal their true character. For the Akushie family, that moment came immediately after they reported the harassment of Ma. The complaint was lawful, it was justified, it was necessary. But inside Bolduc Town Youth Football Club, it triggered a response that was as swift as it was calculated. The Equality Act calls it a protected act, a shield meant to guard individuals from retaliation when they raise concerns about discrimination or harassment. But at BTYFC, that shield was treated as a provocation. The leadership did not pause to reflect. They did not investigate with integrity. They did not ask how a woman could receive more than 80 unwanted messages from a coach and still be treated as the problem. Instead, they activated what I call the retaliation machine, a pattern of behavior designed to isolate, intimidate, and ultimately remove those who dared to challenge the status quo. The first signs were subtle but unmistakable. Conversations that once flowed freely became strained. People who once greeted the family with warmth now avoided eye contact. The club's welfare officer, Sean Smith, who should have been the guardian of fairness, began to treat Ossie and Ma as adversaries. And then came the escalation. On 27th and 28th August, the family submitted further complaints, this time about the conduct of under-11 manager Jason Kitchener, a man whose behavior towards Ossie had grown increasingly hostile. The complaints were clear, detailed, and grounded in the law. They cited the Equality Act. They referenced guidance from the Citizens Advice Bureau. They were the actions of educated, principled people who understood their rights and were determined to protect them. But instead of addressing the substance of those complaints, the club's leadership closed ranks around Kitchener. They treated him not as a subject of investigation, but as a colleague under threat. And they treated the Akushies not as complainants, but as agitators. The retaliation intensified. There were confrontations on the training ground, public, humiliating, engineered to send a message. There were attempts to isolate Ossie from the team he had coached for years. There were whispers, insinuations, and sudden shifts in tone that revealed a coordinated effort to undermine the family's standing. And then the retaliation machine delivered its most devastating blow. 3 letters, 3 documents printed on BTYFC letterhead, 3 signatures from committee members who had never once sat down with the family to hear their side. These letters did not offer dialogue, they did not offer mediation, they did not offer due process. They delivered a verdict. The entire family, Ossie, Ma, Christian and Maria, were summarily and permanently banned from the club. No hearing, no investigation, no opportunity to respond. The justification? Their complaints, their protected acts, their insistence on fairness. The very rights the law was designed to protect were used as the pretext for their expulsion. And let us be clear, this was not a misunderstanding. This was not administrative confusion. This was retaliation, deliberate, targeted, and executed with the full authority of the club's leadership. The impact was profound. Christian and Maria, children who had grown up on those pitches, were suddenly cut off from their teammates, friends they saw not just as players, but as extended family. Their world was disrupted by adults who chose power over compassion. And for Ossie and Eme, the emotional toll was immense. They sought medical treatment for anxiety and depression, conditions brought on not by conflict, but by the relentless pressure of being treated as adversaries in a community they had served faithfully for years. Yet, even in the face of this injustice, the family did not crumble. They did not retreat into silence. They did not allow the retaliation machine to define them. They stood firm. They documented every incident. They prepared themselves for the long road ahead. Because when a family understands its rights, when it knows the law, when it knows its worth, retaliation does not break them. It steals them. And the Akushies were about to discover that the retaliation they had endured was only the beginning. The club's leadership would soon escalate their actions into territory that no reasonable person could defend, a campaign of discrimination and harassment that would expose the deepest flaws in BTYFC's culture. But before that storm arrived, one truth had already become clear. This family was not dealing with a misunderstanding. They were dealing with a system that had decided they were easier to remove than to listen to. And once a system makes that decision, the fight for justice becomes not just personal, it becomes necessary.